to round up another big topic from the week. A new business coalition says Texas retailers, restaurants, hotels, and farmers suffer from a shortage of low-skilled workers. And now some of the top trade groups in the state are lobbying Congress for changes to federal immigration laws. They favor creating a legal status for people working in the country illegally. The coalition supports increasing border security, but thinks that it's best done by creating a guest worker program that meets both the current demand and the future needs of the American economy. Polls show immigration is one of the most important issues to Republican voters in Texas, and Republican candidates have taken a hard line against illegal immigration. A lot of folks oppose programs that grant a path to citizenship. So immigration and the guest worker program is our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you as always on our Fox 26 Facebook page. You can also send me a tweet at Sally Mack, Fox 26. In the newsroom again, we have our legal analyst Chris Tritico, our news analyst Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst Jackie Bally. All right, guys, so several state Republicans have come out against a guest worker program. They want to see it pulled from the state GOP platform. What do you think?
Well, this is a huge problem for the candidates running right now for governor and attorney general. The Republicans have taken such a very hard stance on immigration issues, and now these groups that typically would have supported them are coming out saying, we don't like what you're saying, we don't like where you're taking the party, and we want a guest worker program, which the Republicans have never given even a committee hearing on Capitol Hill or in Texas, which they don't have the right to do anyway, but in Texas. Since George Bush first announced that that's what he wanted, Mustafa Tamiz. This is going to be a problem at the ballot box for these guys, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's a clear difference between Republican primary voters and Republicans. So most Republicans, I would say, are somewhat, okay on immigration, that they can see an immigration reform happen, especially people in the business community. But the Republican primary voters, which are bulk of the Tea Party and very hardcore conservatives, they're not in favor of it. They're adamantly against it, and I think Republicans that favor this will face challenges in the future Republican primaries.
The only Republican candidate moderating his immigration stance right now is David Dewhurst, who's way behind Dan Patrick. Don't you think that Dan Patrick and Greg Abbott are going to have to pay attention to these largely Republican groups that are saying we need these people to work for us?
Well, these groups are moderates, and actually the coalition that they're forming is nonpartisan. So you have some Democrats, you have some Republicans. This is not the first time that you've seen a coalition like this that's approached at least our Texas legislature. I think this is the first time they've gotten so large at a national level. So of course, whenever you see a large group of business people approach our leaders, they're going to listen to some of their thoughts. But right now, the voters in Texas, the polls are showing that they believe in the hard stance that both Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick are taking. A majority of our voters, and you're going to see at the polls that especially when Dan Patrick and Greg Abbott get elected overwhelmingly, that right now the position that the Tea Party and the conservatives are taking is also the position of a majority of our voters.
All right, let's go back to Sally. She's monitoring our social media accounts.
Yeah, we asked our viewers this morning, are you for the guest worker program or are you for the secure the border first mentality? So Casper says, if someone wants to work, let him work. Doesn't matter where he's from. And then Carson countered that. He says the argument that they do work that we don't want to do isn't a strong one, that other people here don't want to do. He says, plus our taxes are paying for their food, their schooling, and yet they don't pay taxes back. So you have more people using taxes than paying. So where does that lead is what he says.
Well, let me talk about that second viewer. That's not true that they're not paying taxes. Their taxes are all drawn out by their employers. Most of these people, if they're coming in, even if they're given a false Social Security number, the employer's drawing that money out. It goes to the federal government. It goes to the state government as it's supposed to. Mm-hmm. They may not be filing a tax return, but a minimum wage worker is not going to be getting anything but a refund anyway.
Well, in a couple of things. Our state is funded through property taxes and it's funded through sales tax. And so whether you rent or you own your home, whether you're illegal or you're undocumented or you're a citizen, you're paying some element of property tax just because you're living somewhere, and everybody pays the sales tax. So actually the undocumented community is funding large parts of the state without getting most of the benefits from that. And then two, this is a sad fact that Republicans, mainstream Republicans, are trying to court the Latino vote. And they're trying to do the right thing because they're trying to court the vote, not because they're trying to do the right thing.
Well, is there anything wrong with a program that would say you can come here, you can work, you have to pay taxes, you have to contribute, but you're not going to be a citizen?
You have to come here legally, at least go through the process
That's what I'm asking.
legally.
If the
Well, we already have that. We already have that in place. I think what the biggest question is, well, a lot of people come in with work visas, and that's what I'm referring
Okay.
to. But a lot of the question is, whenever you come here illegally, we are opposed to amnesty. You know, what are we going to do with the people who came here illegally? So whenever my colleague says that we want to do, or we don't want to do the right thing, when you're breaking the law, that's not the right thing. And so we're not saying we are opposed to immigrants. We are saying we want you to come here legally and do the right thing.
The immigrant community sees as they're opposed to them because there's 12 million undocumented here, and any practical version of taking them out of the country doesn't make any sense.
All right, we're going to leave it right there, Sally. We'll be back. I've got to say that I'm coughing and wheezing because I have a head cold, and so I'll turn my head if it gets bad.
All right, Chris Tritic, I'm sorry you're not feeling too well.